Welcome to Live on Purpose Radio with Dr. Paul Jenkins, where you will hear inspiring stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Feed your mind with a regular dose of positive energy and show up for your life every day on purpose. Living on purpose means that you have a purpose and you do it intentionally. And now, here's your host, Dr. Paul. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live on Purpose Radio. This is Dr. Paul, the shrink who expands your life. We are promoting pathological positivity today at Live on Purpose Radio. I've got a great guest with me. I'd like everybody to welcome Kyle Johnson. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here as always.
Thrilled to have you with me today. I've been looking forward to this. You and I got an introduction, a couple of months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's been several months ago. We're a member of the same club. This is showing up a lot on Live on Purpose Radio because the National Speakers Association is a place where I find some phenomenal guests, and that's where I found you. We're both part of this organization, and you've got a story to share. You shared your story with the National Speakers Association a few months ago, and I was impressed. And the thing that impressed me, Kyle, is not so much your story, although we're going to share that, but what you're doing with it. So we'll get to that too. But that's just a little bit of an introduction. I haven't said much about you. Tell us a little bit more about you and your story. What's going on?
Me and my story, Kay. Name's Kyle Johnson, from Layton, Utah.
Right, just up the road from here.
Yeah, northern Utah. It's an awesome place. And my lifestyle has always been snowboarding. Obviously being Utah-based, you got a lot of skiing, snowboarding, things like that.
We got a lot of snow out there right now.
Oh, my gosh.
There's been a lot the last few weeks.
I know, it's been sick.
Yeah.
But, snowboarding has always been my passion, and I was able to make a career out of it, which was phenomenal. I was like, hey, this is awesome.
Wow, now that's another story.
You snowboard, you get paid, whatever. It works.
You know what? You say that just kind of off of the cuff, but I know dozens of people who would love to know what you know about that. Maybe that's another episode. But
we'll
keep
do that
going.
Later.
Sure.
Okay. But so snowboarding, it's a seasonal sport, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially in Utah, where we have way diverse seasons.
Sure.
And so in the summertime, I've got to keep in shape of how a snowboard works and kind of feel that edge and, kind of get that high, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would skateboard, longboard, and do those type of activities all the time. And so one day I was just longboarding with a friend, and this is a hill right up the road from my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And if you're not familiar with what longboarding is, what it is it's a skateboard on steroids, is what I say.
It's a big, long skateboard.
Exactly, and it's just meant for cruising. You don't really do tricks on it necessarily.
Right.
You just kind of cruise to point A to point B type of thing.
Yeah.
And so right up my neighborhood, just went off on a whim, and on that day, June 2nd, 2010, I ended up crashing on my longboard.
Oh.
It happens. But this time, it's just so happened that I landed on the back of my head, fractured my skull in 25 to 30 pieces.
Ooh.
Pretty serious. I was pretty messed up. I was given a 95% chance of death, and on the 5% chance of me living, I was pretty much guaranteed I'd have some serious issues for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I know. It was just a crazy thing. They actually froze my skull. They took 80% of my skull out and put it in a freezer because my brain swelled about 4.5 times its normal size.
Whoa, Kyle, this is serious stuff.
It's pretty gnarly. I know.
I remember you played a 911 call from that. Do we have that with us? Let's cue that up.
Okay.
And we'll play that.
Kyle, you okay, dude?
Wait, 911, what's the address of your emergency?
We're on the corner of Sunset Drive and 2600 East.
2600 East?
Yeah, we're on the intersection. My friend just fell, and he hit his head hard. He has a helmet, too. He didn't put it on this one time. It's Kyle Johnson.
Okay, is he completely alert?
No, well, he's not alert. Kyle, Kyle.
Okay.
Kyle, can you hear me, dude? Give me some sign you can hear me. I don't know, like squeeze my hand or something, dude. Squeeze my hand, dude. He's not doing nothing. He's breathing and he's moaning.
Okay. And what parts of his body is injured?
It's the head. His head's bleeding a ton.
Wow. So that was you.
That's crazy, isn't it?
You probably don't even remember that.
Not a bit of it.
Because you were out at that point.
Well, I mean, you can hear me screaming and stuff, but I mean, that's very common for traumatic brain injury.
Right, but no memory of it whatsoever.
No memory, none whatsoever.
Which is merciful, I think.
I know. Yeah, well.
Wow, so seriously injured.
Yeah.
In this accident.
And so, like,
helmet?
And that's the unfortunate part, is with snowboarding, I seriously always did wear a helmet. Mm-hmm. Even skateboarding, longboarding, biking, I always put a helmet on.
Yeah.
And in the 911 calls we heard, my friend says he has a helmet too, he just didn't put it on this one time.
Oh, wow.
Bummer.
Wow.
I know. But, you know, and for me, that's just a metaphor of life, in my opinion, of just making those one-time mistakes and thinking it doesn't make a difference.
This one time won't matter.
Guess what? I know it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, here I sit in a coma for 3.5 weeks, and just the doctors were just keeping a close eye on me, thinking, you know, he's gonna pass away any day now, type of thing. My parents had braced for impact, so to speak, and understanding this was probably going to be a reality. But just, I mean, miraculously, I just woke up, and doctors are just, holy cow. And through the traumatic brain injury, this is the bummer part. I've had to relearn how to walk, talk, read, write, and everything else in between. Mm-hmm. Turning on a light bulb, that was a foreign object. I knew what a light was, but actually how to do it.
How to operate the darn thing.
Didn't make sense to me. I was like,
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
There's so much stuff, Kyle, that we just program into our minds, take it for granted. And the simplest tasks become these complicated issues, as you experienced.
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Wow. That is amazing. So a miraculous recovery. You said the doctors gave you like a 5% survival chance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And somehow you overcame that. I've seen some pictures too. You shared some of these at our meeting, and I think we'll put some of those up as a link on our site so that people can get a real visual of that.
PG-13 rated. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, it's scary stuff. What you went through there.
Right.
So talk a little bit about what kind of an impact that's had on your life. I mean, we're putting that together a little bit as you share your story, but talk about that a little more.
The impact it's had, I mean, it's really changed my perspective on so many things. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, the things that really are important in life. For me, prior to my accident, it was, you know, it's just snowboarding, girls type of stuff, you know, just going through the flow of the normal 25-year-old. But then realizing, okay, you know, literally you're given a second chance here. 95% chance of death was very optimistic. And so, you know, when you're given a second chance, you got to make something of it. And it's kind of a call out for other people, I hope, of realizing not everyone gets second chances. And it's something that I kind of feel bad about because I didn't live my life to the fullest up until I was about 25 years old. And it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, I needed to get more busy and really push a lot more further than what I thought I was capable even.
You were just kind of cruising through life.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes on wheels, sometimes on snow.
Exactly.
Right?
Right on.
But wow, what a wake-up call. You had to get knocked out cold to get this wake-up call.
Yes, I did. It was a good one.
Wow. You know what? It's interesting when you say 95% chance of death because isn't there 100% chance of death? You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, the moment we're born, we're pretty much dying.
Birth is the number one cause of death. There's 100% correlation.
Right.
And I just bring that out because, yeah, you had this experience where that became a reality for you. Your own mortality, you know, you came face to face with that in a way that you could not ignore. And that 95 thing meant 95% that you're going now, that you don't get to enjoy another sunset. You don't get to watch some kids grow up. You don't get to ride another snowboard.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So just a reality check, I guess. And that's what I'm getting as I'm listening to you, Kyle. What's my chance of survival? Well, I don't know.
Right.
Eventually, I know that I'm checking out. Nobody gets out of this alive. So the perspective that you're sharing is really a key, and it's not just a key for those who have a death sentence, who just heard from the doc that they're probably not going to make it. And it wasn't even you dealing with that at that point. It was your parents, right? Because you were out cold still.
Yep.
Wow. So life's lessons. Been a lot of them, huh?
For sure. I mean, just perspectives, what really matters. Just like those core values that's the biggest thing, I think, is the core values that each person has. For me, I never push my own core values on anyone else. I think it's an individual choice. But for me, my core values are going to be God, family, and others. And with whatever I'm doing in life, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as I can support those three things, I'm going to be caught doing it all the time. But
right.
if suddenly I have to, if I take that step back and say, okay, wait a minute, if I have to, be in front of my mom and my dad and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and be a little nervous of them saying, we're not proud of that, that's going to change. I'm not going to be a part of that because that's not really supporting my own core values. And so, that's kind of where I really started. I mean, not knowing, how to read or write or anything else, I had to start within. And understanding, okay, who am I? What makes me me? And what makes me different from everyone else? And I think that's an important thing to acknowledge as well, is making yourself your own individual. Sometimes we all follow under this, little box of what society says we're supposed to be. Society says 95% chance of death. Let's get out of that. Let's be that 5% possibly. Let's make something of ourselves and say, okay, I am different, and I'm not going to be a part of the trend. Helmets are a very common thing as well. Of okay, it's not trendy to wear a helmet. People get nervous to wear a helmet because they'll be made fun of. Guess what? That's life.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really the key, is you want to stand out. You don't want to just stand with everyone. You want to stand out. And the kid that wears a helmet at a skate park, he definitely stands out. But I can guarantee you this, at the skate park, he does a lot more tricks than anyone else. And I think that's an awesome thing. It's a great example for other people to follow.
Yeah. So standing out. Sometimes we get into this trap of trying to fit in, huh?
Right.
And maybe there's a balance there somewhere where, fitting in compared to standing out. And you're finding through your experience that there's more meaning in standing out. But standing out can I say that there's a healthy way and an unhealthy way?
Politically correct. There you go.
We'll talk about that. What does that mean for you?
In a healthy sense?
Yeah.
I'm not saying to stand out and, be the one that's always aggressive or, in a classroom setting, for say. You don't want to be the one that stands out and saying all the jokes all the time.
Class clown.
Yeah, those type of things.
A goof off.
Yeah, it's definitely a sense of being respectful.
Or a bully.
Exactly.
That's standing out too.
Don't like them.
Yeah.
But, it's a matter of somewhat being a part of society, but realizing you are your own person. Everyone has a different fingerprint, and play into that. But the thing, right. And so to play into that, we all have our own fingerprint, but we all also have fingers. So we are a part of a greater cause, but we are an individual within that cause.
That's an interesting way to look at it. That we all have a fingerprint that's unique, but we all have fingers. And that's not unique. I suppose there's some people who don't have fingers.
It happens.
Well, I know that there are, but that's a good point. So this unique fingerprint, I want to explore that just a little bit before we get into our break. You started to discover yours when you came face to face with your mortality and you had to really renew your perspective on life. What would you recommend to people if they want to get in touch with theirs? Where do they start? What's your sense of that? Do they need to go crash their longboard?
No, not suggested.
No.
For me, I would honestly say the best place to start is in silence.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Turn off everything. Turn off the computer, the cell phone, all that stuff.
Okay, I'm tracking you.
And just get in a quiet place where you can really think and detach from everything else. Kind of go on like a fast fast from everyone. Mm-hmm. And give yourself a chance to just be alone for at least 24 hours. For me, I was alone for 3.5 weeks.
Okay, so you're not just saying, hey, take 5.
No, I'm taking
You're saying intentionally close out everything else for a while. All of those distractions, all of those things that seem so important or so compelling to us on a daily basis, to just quiet the mind.
Mm-hmm. Relax.
Great idea, Kyle. And then what?
And then you get busy.
Well, and you listen.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, after. I thought you were talking after. Yeah, during the 24 hours, it's an intensive process. I would take a notebook, a pen, and just get ready to write because things are going to come. And things that you didn't realize were within you, they're just going to pop out. And you're like, oh my gosh, look out, Einstein, I'm a genius.
That is a fascinating idea. I think it's something that is rarely done, especially in the fast pace of today's world.
Absolutely.
But you know what? That goes right along with some research I'm aware of, where quieting, finding periods of solitude are very healthy for the mind and for the perspective, apparently.
Right.
We'll be right back.
I'll always have a gig, I'll be big. I'll have parties with friends, places to go. The only problem...
This is Kirk Weasler to tell you about morebetterbooks.com. Morebetterbooks.com is where you can find more better books for a more better life. Not only that, let me tell you about some of the very fun and cool select titles on morebetterbooks.com. You'll want to get a copy of The Dog Poop Initiative. This best-smelling book could change your life forever. It's certainly changed the lives of thousands of Boeing employees, as well as school teachers, parents, leaders across the United States and in Israel and in Germany. And you can get your own copy at morebetterbooks.com. Whoa, that's not all. What about The Cookie Thief? This classic tale told in a rhyming format, fully illustrated with very fun hidden messages. Pick up a copy now today on morebetterbooks.com. Are there great titles there? Finding Your Pathway to Mastery, Beyond Illusions, Make It Great. These titles are only available on morebetterbooks.com. Go to morebetterbooks.com today and begin to have a more better life and live that life on purpose.
The number one barrier to success and happiness is fear. Anxiety paralyzes and keeps you from taking the steps that lead to success, achievement, happiness, or better relationships.
All forms of anxiety have two primary components, a brain component and a mind component. Your brain is an organ in your body. Your mind does the thinking. The answer to your anxiety is understanding what the brain is doing and steering your mind in a different direction. Understanding and applying a few basic principles in both of these areas makes an immediate and lasting difference in my clients breaking free from anxiety and moving forward with power in their lives.
Before I started learning the correct principles to overcome anxiety with Dr. Paul, I wasn't progressing in many areas of my life, and it inhibited my thinking. But after I started applying these principles in my life, I felt more free. I could progress in those different areas, and I just felt all around better.
The best thing about the help that we got from Dr. Paul was that it was not just a Band-Aid to fix my son's anxiety problems, but he empowered my son to be able to help himself whenever the problems arise again.
Now is the time to overcome anxiety, worry, and fear. Your tools to do this are now available in a 4-part video course that you can do in the comfort and privacy of your own home. Get immediate access to this powerful program at MyAnxietyAnswer.com. The first episode is free. Visit MyAnxietyAnswer.com today.
To be what we are and to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end of life. Robert Louis Stevenson.
So, Kyle, you were in a coma, checked out, tuned out, unplugged for weeks.
Right, 3.5.
3.5 weeks, and then somehow, through the grace of God or whatever it was, you woke up.
Yep.
You went through a period of recovery. I'm talking to you. I'm just thinking about that. You bust your head, basically.
Right.
And you're talking to me. What are the chances? You walked into this room. You shared with me during the break that you had a chat with your doc about that. Mm-hmm. As you two were walking down the hall, and maybe he felt like he should have been pushing a gurney with the sheet over the top.
Right, right.
Would you share that?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up where you were, he just made the comment, we should be walking to your grave, not walking down the hall. You have a reason to be here. Your job now is to figure out what that reason is.
Wow. So the doctor was recognizing with you, mm-hmm. Here's this miracle that's happened in your life. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
There's some purpose to this. And you've been spending some time since then putting this purpose together.
Yeah. It's been a pretty gnarly road. Walk
us down that road a little bit. Yeah. Share with us. What have you discovered about your purpose? And what is it that you really want people to know?
I think purpose is to play off your P's. It's also passion. Mm-hmm. Figuring out, I think purpose and passion got to go together.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to live your purpose, so to speak, it's going to be your passion. You're not going to hate the purpose. Mm-hmm. For me, I've always had a passion for speaking. Mm-hmm. It's just a unique situation that I was kind of fell into this literally, and so just being able to as I come home and I start receiving phone calls from media saying, hey, we're interested in you being on this TV show, talk about what happened and all that stuff, it really kind of served as a springboard mm-hmm. for me to get going in certain things. And something we also talked about while we're on the break was just the fact that I'm just from Layton. I'm no different
Where
from
the
anyone
heck
else.
is Layton?
I know. It's not even worth a
I
while
know
to
where
look
it
up.
is, but most of our listeners probably don't.
But, and that's the call out to everyone else is you don't have to be this, come from wealth or have this
mm-hmm.
great invention or anything like that. It's just, you just kind of follow kind of your gut mm-hmm. and say, okay, what am I passionate about? Mm-hmm. And then live for that passion. Mm-hmm. My passion was actually snowboarding. Mm-hmm. People are like, well, you're nuts because, you pretty much nearly died and you want to snowboard still. And I made it loud and clear. I'm going to snowboard the first week first week of the season of the following winter. So it's 2010 in the summer. I'm going to snowboard in 4 to 5 months is what my line was.
That same year.
Yeah.
That's what you were pushing for.
And that was my bottom line.
What happened?
A lot of work. And that falls into it of just.
I've seen pictures of you up on the slopes.
I know it. And
you got there.
I did, and it's not to be taken lightly though, and that's for everyone else of realizing, okay, it's tons and tons and tons of work, and it's a fact of okay, people are going to tell you, you're not going to do it. At the time, mm-hmm. you can't even walk, but hey, it's my call. I'm going to make it happen. And so that at that point, I started to relearn how to walk. That took about 3 days to do, which was just a crazy thing for doctors.
That sounds fast to me.
It was extremely fast. But once again, where's my passion?
So you're hearing all of these medical opinions, and your rebellious head is telling you, I don't think so.
Heck yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You got a little bit of that adolescent kickback in you?
Sure, I guess if you can call it that.
I mean, you hear these medical opinions and you think, I don't think so.
It's not for me.
Thank you for your opinion. Mm-hmm. Here's where I'm going.
Exactly.
And then you put the work in because it's not handed to you. You're not entitled to it, but it is available to you if you go after it.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, you had this perfect opportunity to become, I call it a victim. Okay? And I understand you were a victim of an accident, but when I say victim, I mean a victim way of looking at the world. Okay? A victim mindset, a victim paradigm. I think you've heard me talk about that before. You had this perfect opportunity to blame this accident for where you were. You didn't have to do anything. And you chose something else. In fact, you've got a little phrase for that.
Right. Don't get bitter, get better.
Don't get bitter, get better.
Right.
Is it a choice?
Oh, no. Of course it is. I mean, does the sun rise? It always does. And so, it is a choice of... In my opinion, you really have three choices. You can get bitter, you can get better, or you can just do nothing and just coast. Coasting for me is never good. And
where does coasting lead?
Nowhere.
Downhill.
You're gonna wake up with the same results as you had yesterday, and you're never gonna improve. And so realizing, Kate. It's either going to make me or I'm going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't, it's my accident. Yes, it's very streamlined to traumatic brain injury, but it's so broad in other ways of, rape and victims of being bullied, even bullies trying to get better of not being a bully anymore.
How about people who are exploited or robbed or cheated?
I mean, bad things happen to good people. It just happens.
That's true. So you can get better or you can get bitter. When you said coasting, I have this picture of you on your longboard on that hill. Which direction were you going?
Ooh, downhill.
Down. Yeah. I don't think they're... See if you agree with this, Kyle. Your life's going somewhere, true?
Absolutely.
I mean, for sure. Even like if you shoot a gun, where's the bullet go?
Where you're pointing.
Wherever you're pointing it. And if you're not aiming it, still goes somewhere.
Right.
For sure. And your life's the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going somewhere. It's most likely to go where you're pointing it, where you're aiming it, and that's all about the purpose and the passion that we're talking about. But it's going somewhere for sure. And I've noticed the default is always downhill, isn't it?
Right.
So either you are applying, and I love the way you said this, you've got to work for it. You go after it, you do what is required, and you had to work hard for what you've got now, didn't you?
Tons. It was frustrating as...
Speaking English?
No, that's a waste of time.
Walking? Yeah.
Computers was hard, actually. That was a funny one.
Oh, yeah?
3.5 hours it took me 3.5 hours to open up a Word document for the first time.
Wow.
That was weird. I mean, I knew what the Word document was, but how to get it open, I was like, what the heck?
It just wasn't clicking with you. So you had to put the work in for it. The work is what elevates. Notice it always requires energy to elevate.
Exactly.
Right? You take away the energy, it doesn't just stay there. It rolls downhill.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not putting in the effort in your life, where's it going to go? It's not going to stay the same, is it?
Right.
Because default's always downhill. That's just the image that I had as I was thinking about you on your longboard.
Mm-hmm.
But
aside from my good looks, right?
Aside from your good looks.
Thank you.
And we are creating a video feed, or at least excerpts.
Right.
From this particular episode. So we can share that with some of our listeners.
Okay, great.
And for those of you who are curious about that, keep watching for Live on Purpose TV coming up as a new YouTube channel. We'll have some fun with that. But then we can share some of your video stuff too. And that's one of the big reasons we're doing it, so that we can give some visuals. So, Kyle, let's start to knit this thing up. Let's wrap this back together. When you had this traumatic experience, you had a choice to get bitter or to get better. You chose getting better, and you're doing a phenomenal job with that, by the way. It's inspiring. Have you found that? Have you found that even though you're just a kid from Layton, you're inspiring some people, aren't you?
That's, it's humbling.
Yeah.
that's, that's part of the hope, I think, is to give hope to others.
Right.
And, not that I can be not that I can be the hero of their story, because I think as individuals, that's up to them,
right,
of them being the hero, in a humble sense, obviously. But to step back and say, okay, I just did what I just did what I might have thought was impossible.
Right.
It's another one of my tags is impossible. If you break that word down, it's 2 words. I'm possible.
Oh, there you go.
It's a good one. And I just realizing
that.
Everyone has that possibility if they choose it. And it is just that pure choice.
Mm-hmm. So your story is about traumatic brain injury, but that doesn't matter.
It's applied anywhere.
It applies anywhere. It could be anything. We've listed what some of those stories might be. But look what happens also as you share your story, and I can tell this is your passion. You said that something drives you towards speaking, and I know that you do that on a fairly regular basis. You're available to go speak to groups.
Right.
So if anyone out there is thinking, hey, I'd love to have this guy come talk to our company or our group or our association, you're available.
Absolutely.
And we'll put a link up to your website too.
Perfect.
So yeah, continue to share that story. And as you share that story, it's not just about you being a hero. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, even though you are, and I know you still have weaknesses. But everybody does, right?
Right.
So you get to be a hero in that way to inspire other people so that they can become the hero of their own life. And apply the same principles that you did to overcome whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that that's possible for anybody?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a sense of alignment, obviously. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't do it alone. I had the support of obviously I had the support of my doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, there's a reason you're here. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it was me thinking a lot. Okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. Why am I here? And then coordinating with my friends, my family. Love you, Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But just aligning.
Shout out to the parents.
There you go. But just aligning with everyone and then coordinating with everyone else. Okay, is this a good idea for me to follow this?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, it's worked out because once again, it was my passion, along with snowboarding. Speaking's my other passion, mm-hmm. and I was able to find a way to really craft a speech that reaches out to a lot of people, mm-hmm. And as long as people are willing to change, they're able to.
Mm-hmm. That willingness is important. The willingness to put in the work that's required. Teaming up with other people, I'm picking up on a number of principles there that make a difference. This is kind of a sidetrack, possibly. I don't know. It's part of the same thing. But I'm just wondering what kind of difference, what kind of impact that makes on other people. I can imagine for you, Kyle, it could be anything from there's another teenager out there somewhere or young adult who chooses to wear a helmet today because they heard your story. It could be anything from that to a young mother who's feeling frustrated because of all of the challenges that she's got raising these 3 young kids, and she knows that it's possible because she heard your story, and it has nothing to do with wearing a helmet or having a traumatic brain injury. The spectrum is so broad. And that's the point that I want to make also for our listeners, that whatever your story is, you can apply those same principles and, as we say here on the show, live on purpose. What are your thoughts about that, Kyle, as we wrap up today?
I think you're hitting it just right on the head. Realizing that in dark times, the light always comes.
Yeah.
It always does. And, I think a lot of people, me included, you included, we all have dark days.
For sure.
And I think a big plug of spreading light or getting light is to give light. Mm-hmm. And that's a way to be a hero to somebody else. Mm-hmm. people, I really take people's, their faces, and I engrave them in my heart, because I know that everyone can light up someone else's dark day. Mm-hmm. And that's a cool thing. And that's when it gets really just, okay, I am somebody, and I did just make a difference. Even though it was just one person. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow, the next day, and just make it grow, and to give back to others, because I've been given much.
That was very well said. I've noticed also, the greater the darkness, the more dramatic the light. Even a small one. Mm-hmm. Bring the light. That's what you're doing. You're bringing light, Kyle.
Right on.
Right here at Live on Purpose Radio today. To get people in touch with you, share your website with us verbally.
It's KyleJohnsonInternational.com.
Kyle Johnson, spelled just like you'd expect it.
S-O-N.
S-O-N. That's probably the only thing that might get in the way. KyleJohnsonInternational.com.
Perfect.
Kyle, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You've got an inspiring story. Keep spreading the light. Everybody, go out there and live on purpose.